Imagine this, dear viewer. You are 7-year-old me, innocently scanning the aisles of your local Blockbuster with your dad. You're looking at movies, you're thinking about candy, your feet are sticking to the weird, gross carpet, when all of a sudden you see this. Now, a fun fact about Papa Frog is that he loved horror movies. I mean, he watched every single one that he could get his hands on. And as long as there wasn't any overt sex scenes, he would let you watch them with him. Now, this, my friends, is how I was introduced to one of the most convoluted series of horror films ever created. And while I couldn't appreciate that at the time because I was 7, I have come to love these as Dead Meat described them.
A beautiful, messy soap opera, with every installment adding to the interwoven web of characters.
But not everyone knows about the confusing and mostly nonsensical lore of this series because to most people it's just torture porn and they toss it aside as though it has no substance. And that's where I come in. I want to take you through a condensed being the keyword version of the series, sparing you the gore and showing you the goofy, strange, and sometimes scary things that it has to offer. And I'll go ahead and apologize now because no matter how I try to condense this series, it's going to be ridiculously long, but that's not really unusual for this channel, so... Saw was created by Leigh Whannell and James Wan, and made its original debut at the Sundance Film Festival. I'm not going to get super into behind the scenes stuff, but that's the two main players here. There's actually a 10-minute kind of proof of concept short film that they did, often referred to as Saw 0.5, and it's really good. I can't really tell you a lot about it because it is expanded into the first Saw movie, and we're about to cover that. But it really does a good job of setting up the general atmosphere and type of movie that they wanted to make. And it's definitely worth a watch. There's not any gore or anything like that. So if you're queasy, you're safe to watch that. It also features Billy the Puppet in a cute little bowler hat, which immediately makes it one of my favorite things in the entire franchise. We love Billy the Puppet in this house, and we will not hear any Billy the Puppet slander, okay? Before we begin, I need to acknowledge that other people inspired me to make this video. I'm not smart enough, nor am I creative enough to do this video without people and other creators inspiring me and pointing out things that I really didn't notice on my watch-throughs. Alongside the movies, I watched a lot of videos about the Saw franchise, and themes and traps and behind the scenes stuff. And I'd like to, shout out those people and thank them for, all the information that I didn't want to research by myself. So I put all of the videos that I liked in a playlist on the channel. So you can watch all of those if you'd like to hear other people talk about the Saw franchise, or you can cherry pick them if you're just interested in a certain type of video, like a timeline or videos about traps or anything like that. I have a bunch of videos on there. So please go check them out. Go check out those creators. Give them love because they're doing good work. So before we start talking about the main series, I do want to go ahead and put this disclaimer here that I'm not going to be talking about Spiral. And I was going to include it at first, but the more I thought about it, the more it just doesn't make sense to include it, and it just doesn't fit. To me, the movie really has nothing to do with the main story, and the only real connection is that John Kramer is a person that exists, and the killer of this movie is inspired by them. There's no connection to any of the other accomplices. There's no connection to John. There's no substance there. And I just didn't enjoy the movie. The special effects were good. Some of the cinematography was good. It wasn't for me, and it just doesn't feel like Saw, so I'm not going to talk about it. It just wasn't my cup of tea. And
that's all I have to say about that.
Also, before we begin, I feel like I should clarify some terms that you're going to hear me use. I'll start with accomplice versus apprentice. Accomplice is just someone who helps do something simple, like kidnap someone, take a picture, drop off a package. Those are accomplices. They don't know the bigger picture. They don't really know what's going on. They're just completing a specific task for Jigsaw and his goons. Apprentices are people who directly work with Jigsaw, believe the philosophy because none of them really believe it, and work directly with him to put people in traps, make traps, pick candidates, whatever. The other terms that you'll need to know are the types of traps. I've broken them down into really simple 4 categories. Single trap, which is one person who is in one trap and they have to accomplish a goal to save their own life. They're not trying to save anyone else. They're just trying to save themselves in that moment in that trap. Inescapable traps will come into play later because those are 2 specific people that make them. That's a later deal, but those are traps that even if you technically win the game, you're going to die anyway. Group traps are usually a group of 5. There's a couple throughout the series that we'll see. A group of 5 where they are trying to work together to all survive. They have to go through a series of traps and they have to work together to all get out. Rarely does that work. Just spoiler. And a series trap is where one person is going through a series of different traps to save themselves and other people. People like Jeff and Bobby and Rig are the most, those are the 3 prominent series traps. While they technically are working to save themselves, they are working to save other people as well in different traps. I don't know if that made sense, but that's how I broke it down. So those are the terms that you're going to hear me use, and I just wanted you to be on the same page, because if you haven't seen the movies, you don't know what I'm talking about. So finally, we can jump into what's actually going on in the series. So, I'm going to start talking about Saw 1, but important note is that before this game is played that we're going to see today, there was a game that was played roughly maybe a year before this game, and 5 people were put into a group trap.
Look at this goober!
And I can't tell you much about that game, but it will become relevant later. I think in the last movie, it becomes relevant. 5 people were in a group trap, and only 1 person survived. So the first thing that we ever see in this franchise is a man underwater in a bathtub.
Hello, how are you? I am under the water. Please help me.
There's this glowing thing kind of floating around his head, and when he jerks out of the water, it goes down the drain. Now, we don't know what that is yet, but when we find out what it is, that's really gonna fucking suck. Our soaking wet sewer rat looking friend here is Adam, played by screenwriter Leigh Whannell. And my favorite character in the franchise. I will not hear Adam slander in this video. I won't hear it. Adam starts yelling out because he's freaking out. Obviously, he just woke up in a dark room in a bathtub. And while he's yelling, he hears another voice and the lights come on and we see this man. This is Dr. Gordon.
My name is Lawrence Gordon. I'm a doctor.
The series will remind you 500 million times that he's a doctor. So that's probably important that you remember that he's a doctor. Now that we can see where we are, they are in the grossest bathroom I've ever seen in my life. This room is commonly referred to as the shit room or the shit bathroom or the bathroom trap. So if you hear me use any of those terms, I'm talking about Adam and Gordon's bathroom that they're in Saw 1. We will see this bathroom again. It comes up a lot, surprisingly, for just being a bathroom. Adam and Gordon are chained on opposite sides of the room to big rusty metal pipes, and between them is a dead guy.
Miss Keisha. Miss Keisha. Miss Keisha. Oh my fucking god, she fucking dead.
And he has a gun in his hand and a tape recorder in his other hand. Adam can't remember how he got here, but Gordon is just kind of sitting there, and he's not, like, he's stressed, but he's not as stressed. So obviously he remembers and he has an idea of what's going on. Adam's clueless, which is a theme for Adam. He's a little bit dumb. Both of them have little teeny tiny baby cassette tapes in their pockets when they're kind of looking through their pockets. And the dead guy in the middle of the room has a tape recorder, like I said, and they work together to get the tape recorder out of the dead guy's hands. Adam goes first because he's the one that got the tape recorder, and this is where we hear the Jigsaw voice for the very first time.
Rise and shine, Adam. You're probably wondering where you are. I'll tell you where you might be. You might be in the room that you die in.
And it is immediately fucking terrifying. And if I were Adam, I'd be shitting my pants on the toilet next to me because what the fuck is that? Boiled down, what the tape says is that Adam is a sneaky little dude and he's a voyeur. We don't know what that means yet, but we'll find out. And that he can either watch himself die or he can do something about it tonight. And I'm just going to say this here because, like I said, I'm an Adam stan and I've always been an Adam stan. Given Jigsaw's rules for how he chooses who to put into traps and like what to make them do, it makes no sense for Adam to be here. He's doing the same thing that Jigsaw and his little goons have to do to find victims. But Adam's not killing anybody because Adam's just a baby. And genuinely, the more we find out about Adam in this movie, he would have been better off trying to recruit the motherfucker than killing him.
Free the homie, man. I'ma rep John name to the end. Them folks can't hold him down too long. My dog coming home on God.
Dr. Gordon plays his tape next.
Dr. Gordon, this is your wake-up call. Every day of your working life, you have given people the news that they're gonna die soon. Now you will be the cause of death.
It tells us a few interesting things. One, that the dead guy in the middle of the room has been poisoned, and that's why he kerblammed himself. That Dr. Gordon has to kill Adam by 6 p.m. or his family will die, and that X marks the spot. Didn't know we were on a fucking treasure hunt around here, but apparently we are. Dr. Gordon hears a whispering on the tape when they replay it, and it says to follow your heart. And they see a shitty heart painted on the toilet next to Adam, and so Adam digs through both the bowl, which is disgusting, and then the tank, which has a bag with 2 hacksaws and like an envelope that Adam kind of pushes to the side and doesn't show Gordon. So we don't know what's in that. The saws that they have can't cut through the thick metal of their chains, and Dr. Gordon's like, I think he wants us to cut through our feet, and that's pretty whack. And then he kind of sits back in defeat, and he's like, I think I know who's doing this to us. This is where we get the first flashback of the series. So everything that I'm about to tell you happened before Gordon and Adam were kidnapped. I will warn you that you should be prepared for a lot of flashbacks in this series because they start to get confusing and there's flashbacks within flashbacks. And I need you to be locked in to understand what I'm saying.
Lock in.
I will do my best to point out flashbacks because I have all of them marked, but I am kind of dumb, so maybe be prepared for me to fuck it up because I'm going to do that. In this flashback, we are introduced to the detectives that are working the Jigsaw case. That is Detective Singh, Detective Chap,
2 bros chilling in the hot tub, 5 feet apart because they're not gay.
And Detective Carey.
She's an icon, she's a legend, and she is the moment.
Now, like my love for Adam, I'm in love with Detective Carey, okay? I will not hear slander. I will not hear nonsense. We love Alice and Carey in this house. These 3 are coming across Jigsaw victims in a bunch of different traps, and I'm just going to kind of like run you through them really quick so we don't have to get into the goriness of that. The first victim was a man who was self-harming, and instead of offering him psychiatric help, Jigsaw put him in a pit full of like tangled up barbed wire they had to make his way through.
What the hell is even that?
He did not survive. And to be honest, with my anxiety, I would not survive either because fuck all that shit. Victim number 2 was put into a room with broken glass all over the floor, smothered in flammable jelly, and then has to find the combination to a safe, but like there's literally numbers all over the wall, like from top to bottom.
Just vote.
Just vote. Just vote.
Just read. I know I'm gonna be out, so just vote.
And he's got to hold a candle so he can look at the numbers. And I don't know about you, but if I see more than 3 numbers in a row, I start panicking. So this is another trap where I would fucking die. I would literally just set myself on fire to save myself the trouble. The third victim is a woman named Amanda who was put into like a reverse bear trap and had to kill a guy and dig a key out of his stomach to save herself.
What? We're flying to Philadelphia. Oh, hell no. That's hell no. No.
She is the only victim so far that has succeeded that we know about. Because again, we don't know about the group one from before this because we don't know about it yet. She is the first one that we see that survived. So yay for her. According to the tapes that Jigsaw left, these people didn't appreciate life. And so they had to be faced with the fear of losing their life to change their ways and come to appreciate life. I'm not really sure how that holds up from a psychiatric point of view, but what the fuck do I know? Because I just make videos on the internet. All of the dead victims had a piece of skin cut out of them in the shape of a puzzle piece, which is where Jigsaw gets the name Jigsaw. Ew! And Gordo knows all of this because he was questioned for the murders because his pen light was found at the Safe Guy's crime scene. So he was questioned by Tap and Sing. Karu was probably off working out and looking hot, okay? Like, she's not there at this point. But Gordon was questioned by Tap and Sing. And for some reason, I still can't figure it out because I don't think any cop in the history of cops would let you do this. Gordon is allowed to watch the interview with Amanda where she describes her trap, which I've already described to you, but this was just like where we see the trap in action. And Amanda's taking it pretty well. She says that this experience actually helped her, which if I was a cop, I would keep that lady under constant surveillance because there's no fucking way that you're appreciative of the shit that just happened to you. Something that I did want to note about this scene, though, while we're talking about it, is that this is the first time that we see Billy the puppet, who, as I've stated, I love. He is my sweet baby Billy. And he rides out on a little tricycle. Also, during Gordon's story hour, we learn that there was an orderly at the hospital named Zepp who yelled at Gordon because Gordon referred to a patient as the patient, which he was teaching residents, so I feel like that's pretty common. I don't really see the issue with that, but Zepp got really offended. Back in the shit bathroom, Gordon and Adam throw something at like a piece of glass and they discover that there's a camera behind it. It was a piece of 2-way glass. And so now they know that someone is watching them and that they aren't just here. Like, they are being monitored. Gordon goes to show Adam a picture of his family, and there's a picture of his wife and daughter tied up with a little note on it. Ooh! The note says that it reminds them about the X marks the spot thing, and then says, sometimes you see better when your eyes are closed. In another flashback, we see the last time that Gordon saw his family because now he knows they're in danger. And he was arguing with his wife, who it's not going good. I don't really know what's going on, but it's not going good. And he was tucking in his daughter, who was crying because there was a man in her closet. And he's like, LOL, no, like, there's no man in your closet. And he leaves, and except there was a man in her closet. And it's Zepp, the guy from the hospital that was yelling at Gordon. And he ties them up, and he's the one watching the cameras. And he's the one that took the picture that we saw in Gordon's wallet. So he's in on this. In a flashback, Detective Tapp is shown to have figured out where Jigsaw was based on Amanda's video. Because in that video, he hears a fire alarm going off and he sees a gang symbol on the wall. And so he looks at like fire dispatch and sees where in the gang's territory the firefighters went around, that date and time. And he finds the warehouse where John is. Tap and Sing go there and they find like a little home base area. And there's another man in a trap. And instead of just setting free the man in the trap, they decide to wait for Jigsaw to get back so they can apprehend him, which is dumb. And when Jigsaw comes back and sees these two dudes there, he runs away. And I think it's Sing that shoots him in the shoulder. It might have been Tap. I don't remember. Don't quote me on that. But he slashes Tap's throat right here in the front. And then Sing is chasing after him, and he trips over a tripwire that is attached to 4 shotguns in the ceiling, and they kill Detective Tap by shooting him in the noggin. So Detective Tap becomes our first death on the board. He will be missed. He was pretty cool, not gonna lie. But this is Saw. These are all the X's that we will be using. A lot of these people are going to be dead. I'd recommend not getting attached to them at all. So back in the present, Detective Tap is across the street from Gordon's house, and he thinks he's watching Gordon because he's still convinced that Gordon has something to do with this, but he's actually watching Zepp, who is watching Gordon and Adam. Gordon and Adam turn off the lights because the hint on the back of the picture, and they see a glowing X on the wall, and they break through the wall there, and they find a box, and the box has a gun with like 1 or 2 bullets, 2 cigarettes, a phone that's only supposed to receive calls, and a note. In yet another flashback, we see the abduction of Dr. Lawrence Gordon, and so we know how he ended up in the shit bathroom. Back in the shit room, Gordon and Adam turn off the lights so they can conspire, and so whoever's looking at them can't see them. And when they turn the lights back on, they try to fake Adam's death, but Adam is so bad at acting that the dude shocks Adam. They know that Adam's not dead, and they don't think that's funny. He remembers his abduction and how he ended up in the shit bathroom. In another flashback...
I couldn't have enough... okay, one more. I'm gonna have one more, and then that'll be it.
We see Adam's abduction from his apartment, and if you haven't seen this scene that I'm about to describe to you, you should go look it up on YouTube. It's actually really, really good. It's well shot and it's very suspenseful. Adam is walking through his dark apartment using the flash of his camera to kind of see, and then he's abducted by someone in a pig mask, which is really freaky. Jigsaw's obsessed with pigs and puzzles, I guess. He's a weird man. We also learn that Adam is a photographer, usually hired to film cheating husbands, but he was hired by Detective Tap to follow Gordon, and that's why they're both here together, and why Jigsaw called him a voyeur, because he's photographing things. Now, Gordon was having an affair, and Adam did catch that affair because he was going to have sex with a student who he technically didn't actually have sex with, but that's really not the point. But Tap thought he might go somewhere that led him to Jigsaw because he still suspects Gordon, even though Gordon was cleared. I don't know. Tap's like really hung up on this I think it's Gordon thing. So yeah, that's how Adam and Gordon are connected. 6 o'clock comes, and since Adam isn't dead, Zepp prepares to kill Gordon's family, but Gordon's wife is not playing any of these fucking games. And she wrestles with Zepp, which causes a commotion, which leads Tap to run across the street to Gordon's apartment and find Zepp. Now, Gordon's family is safe, sound, secure. We never see him again, but they're probably okay somewhere. Gordon gets a phone call on the phone from the box because Zepp was going to shoot his family while Gordon was listening. But instead, he hears gunshots from Tap aiming at Zepp. And so Gordon thinks his family is dead, but they are not dead. They're living. Gordon is like, LOL, Adam, you have to die. And again, Gordon thinks his family is dead, so what is Adam killing Adam gonna do? It's gonna do nothing. People just want to kill Adam. Leave Adam alone. Gordon is panicking and freaking the fuck out, and he saws off his foot to get out of there. Now, I told you that Saw 1 is safe to watch if you're scared of gore, and I meant it. We do not see Gordon's foot. We will see it in Saw 2, but we do not see it in this movie. We just see kind of Adam's reaction to him sawing off his foot and some crazy faces that Carrie Ellis was making on set. I would have laughed, but that's whatever. He takes the gun from the box and he shoots Adam. I think it's like in the shoulder. I don't really remember. But he shoots Adam and Adam's on the floor. Like, what the fuck is happening? He's upset. Tap and Zepp get into a car chase, which leads them to the place where the shit bathroom is. Zepp turns around and shoots Tap, but Tap is still alive for now. Again, don't get attached to anyone. And he goes into the shit bathroom where Adam and Gordon are. Zepp tries to kill Gordon, but Adam, who is our number one, A1 day one, like he's the best that ever was, defends his friend / enemy now, I guess they're enemies now, and kills Zepp with a dirty toilet lid, which has to be the most humiliating way to go. Gordon, who is looking like a zombie, and like he's 10 seconds away from dying, promises that he'll go get help for Adam, and then Army crawls out of the room. But given the way that Gordon was looking, Adam decides to look for alternatives. Adam searches Zepp's pockets and finds a tape recorder, because of course he does, and he decides to play it.
Hello, Mr. Hindle, or as they called you around the hospital, Zepp.
It turns out that Zepp wasn't the mastermind at all, which isn't surprising if you're listening to the things that I'm telling you. He was in a game of his own that required him to run Adam and Gordon's game while he's processing that mindfuck, which it is a mindfuck the first time you watch it. The fucking body behind him gets up. This is Jigsaw, a cancer patient named John Kramer, who we saw earlier when Zepp was yelling at Gordon for not using his name. He tells Adam that Adam was always meant to live, and that the key to his escape was in the bathtub with him, which means that the glowy thing that we saw at the beginning of the movie was the fucking key to his shackles. So whoever put the fucking key in the bathtub should be shot, and we'll learn who that was later, by the way, don't worry. So Adam is realizing that his key to freedom was taken from him before the game even started.
Bummer. Huh? This is a bummer, man. That's a bummer.
But instead of John letting Adam out, since he wasn't supposed to die anyway, and he was actually innocent, and John acknowledges that, he just goes, LOL, bye, and shuts him in the dark bathroom and slams the door.
Game over.
And with that, my precious baby Adam is left screaming in the dark. My poor, sweet, precious man. Now, I could technically mark him dead here, but we're going to see his death and get a little bit of history on that. And I'm going to have a side rant for that. So I think I'm going to save marking him out until we do that. Okay? So he's dead. Moment of silence. Okay. But we're going to save it because we will be seeing him again. The story of the first game revolves around Detective Tapp, who we just talked about in Saw 1. He's been abducted by Jigsaw because he has neglected his family and done a lot of stupid things in order to catch Jigsaw, and he's just become obsessive. And I mean, yeah, John, what did you expect this cop to do when you killed his partner and you killed a bunch of other people and you slashed his throat? Like, what did you want him to do? Let that shit go? Throughout the game, Tapp is being hunted by other people. They're in, like, this warehouse, and there are other people playing games. And they have to find Tapp and cut him open because he has a key. Jigsaw loves to fucking sew a key into a bitch, okay? He does this, like, every 5 minutes. He's got to avoid them and go through a bunch of traps and save people. A few of the people he saves, Amanda Young, who we saw in the first movie, Singh's wife, a journalist, a man named Abby, and another previous victim of Jigsaw who I can't remember the name of. So he's going through this warehouse and he saves all these people, and when he gets to the end, he's given an ultimatum by Jigsaw, and Jigsaw's like, listen, big dog, you're a good cop, but can you let it the fuck go now, please? And he gives him the choice to save everybody in the warehouse and let it go and go home, or continue to hunt for Jigsaw and leave all the victims to chance. So these people might die, they might not die. Who knows? They're in traps, though, so they're probably going to die. And technically, you can choose either option. But the game does have a canon ending. And the canon ending for this game is that Tapp lets it go and saves everyone and goes home. And while he's sitting in this room full of pictures and conspiracy boards and case files, he kerblams himself. I think it's really tragic that this is how he goes out. But I also kind of like that the series doesn't back away from tragic things. So this is the canon ending for Tapp, and it is confirmed in one of the movies. I can't remember which movie it is, but they do say that Tapp is dead and that he offed himself. Now, a little disclaimer about this movie. It was filmed in the 2020s, but it takes place between Saw 1 and Saw 2. So if you're watching the series in chronological order, which I would highly, 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 highly recommend that you do, you're going to notice that characters look older than they do in subsequent movies. And that's okay, but it can take some people off guard. So just... Johnny Boy is at the doctor getting some updates about his cancer diagnosis. It's still cancer. It's still in his brain. It's still bad. And he's preparing for the end of life. Writing his will, going to support groups, making funeral arrangements, taking long walks in the park, and of course putting people in traps that will definitely kill them 98.6% of the time. While he's at a coffee shop, one of his acquaintances from one of the support groups, a man named Henry, comes up to him and, yeah, I don't go to the support groups anymore because I'm cured. And John's like, what the fuck do you mean cured? Let me in. And he's like, well, there's this doctor, his name is Dr. Peterson, and he has this experimental thing, and it's not approved by any government agencies, but it cured me. I'm done. I just had to have a quick surgery. Everything's fine. And John, who is desperate for a cure, is like, sign me the fuck up, big dog. And he emails the program, and he's accepted not by the regular Dr. Peterson, but by his daughter, Cecilia Peterson. And she's like, yeah, LOL, we're in Mexico. Come meet us. Get cured, big dog. And he's pretty excited about that. Now, he tried to get his insurance to cover it, which we will see that scene in one of the other Saws. I think it's Saw 6. They said no, which will have consequences. John goes to Mexico, and he's picked up by a cabbie named Diego. He makes it to the warehouse where the whole operation is kind of set up because they're hiding from Big Pharma, which is crazy. He meets Cecilia Peterson, another patient named Parker, a nurse named Valentina, a surgeon named Mateo, a kid named Carlos, and a housekeeper named Gabriella. Now, it should be noted that Carlos, who I just mentioned, is literally just a random little kid.
Oh, look at the little baby.
While talking to Dr. Cecilia, John says that he's a civil engineer and architect, which I like that detail because it kind of explains how he's able to build all of these elaborate fucking traps and rooms and things that he builds. So thanks, Saw X, for some clarification on that. He also bonds with the kid Carlos by helping him fix his bike, and they're kind of talking and trading English and Spanish words. So that's cute. We love a man that's good with kids. The operation happened, and John is cured. Cecilia instructs him to take a special mystery drug, not take off his wrappings, and go live his life. And he's like, yep, absolutely no red flags here. Love this. Great. And they drop him off at his hotel. With this cure comes kind of like a new lease on life. And it's one of the big reasons that I like this movie, because Tobin Bell does a really good job of showing us the more human side of John Kramer, which I think we needed. And he's drawing traps or whatever. And he's like, wait, should I stop murdering people in vicious traps that I create with my fucking crazy ass accomplices?
Wow, I need a minute to think about this.
Maybe I shouldn't murder. And then he decides he's going to thank Cecilia before he goes home. And he goes back to the warehouse where the surgery happened. He's able to triangulate that position based on some markers. I don't know. He's a civil engineer. He's numbers. Numbers will always betray you. And he used the numbers to get to Cecilia. And when he gets there, the warehouse is empty. Everyone's gone. And it becomes very evident to him that it was a scam and that he's not cured. And he even takes off his bandage, and these motherfuckers didn't even bother to shave our boy or fucking cut his head open so they could give him stitches and make him think that he was fine. Like, what the fuck, y'all? With his newfound hope gone, John decides that everybody gonna die except for Carlos. Carlos is cool. And he puts Mateo, Diego, Valentina, Gabriella, Cecilia in a trap. Diego goes first, and he's separate from everybody. He's actually the one that ratted on where they were. And he has to cut bombs off of his arms.
Oh
no! Which is actually a reference to one of the Saw games, which is cool. And if you're wondering how terminal brain cancer patient John Kramer kidnapped all of these able-bodied adults, that's because Amanda Young is helping him. Now, if you're watching the series chronologically, this is the first time that we know that she's an accomplice. So you're going to see her acting like a victim in other movies. Just remember that duplicitous bitch is an accomplice. Not an accomplice. An apprentice. She's an apprentice. She is actively working with John to do things. She knows about the trap. She knows about the plans, okay? She's an apprentice. Don't trust that bitch. Valentina goes first, and her trap is to cut off her leg above the knee and then suck out some bone marrow, and she has like 60 seconds.
I'm in danger!
So she obviously dies, because I don't even, like, it would take me 60 seconds to work up the nerve to even cut myself a little, let alone fucking get the saw through my fucking leg. So she's dead. Amanda and John are sharing some tender moments. with each other, and they're having a little bit of a disagreement. Amanda thinks that Gabriella, who is a drug addict, should be spared a little bit, and she's scared about John dying and having to do this on her own and not being good enough. And I like this scene because in Saw 3, Amanda is going to go completely off the fucking walls and start yelling, and if we don't have these scenes, it feels like a very sudden turn of her emotions and her attitudes. But when you introduce some insecurities and some disagreements in this kind of prequel to that, it makes a little bit more sense, and I kind of like it. So shout out to the writers. Pat yourself on the back for that one, because that was pretty good. I enjoyed that. Cecilia uses Valentina's guts to pull a cart closer to her and get her phone and call someone before Amanda stops her, and she's like, "Bad dog," and shocks her. She's like, "Zzz." Jigsaw really likes a little bit of taser action. I think that's his kink. Parker shows up outside the warehouse and he's yelling. He's like, "They scared me. This stupid bitch scared me. Oh my God." And Jigsaw and Amanda are like, "Okay, whatever, you're a victim. Shut up." And they tie him to a chair and make him watch the games. He's not a fan of this. He thinks they're fucking crazy. But what you gonna do? You gonna fight these psychos? Mateo goes through his trap next, and basically what he has to do is dig out a piece of his brain and let it dissolve in that vat of acid, or he gets his whole face burned off in a mask. He doesn't survive.
The woman was too stunned to speak.
You're not going to pick out your brain and survive. John's kind of dumb. I don't really know, like, what chance do you actually think these people have? Gabriella goes next, and her trap requires her to break her wrist and her ankle to avoid being burned by a radiation machine, which is fucked up for John to do, considering that he's a cancer patient. Why would you want to give someone super cancer with the radiation machine? That's fucked. She technically survives.
Oh no! There's Melanie. That's a shame. She was really nice.
Her trap, but is shortly after killed by Cecilia when Parker is like, "LOL, that's my girlfriend," and like breaks out of his restraints and goes down there and frees Cecilia. So RIP, Gabriella, you really didn't do shit. You were just like a housekeeper. I really don't know what the fuck you were even in a trap for, to be honest. But you know, Cecilia goes to get Carlos. I don't know where the fuck she just apparated Carlos out of. Why is he just outside the factory at night? But she goes to get him, and she puts him and John into John's blood-boarding machine thing that he was going to put Cecilia in.
I don't know about y'all, but this ship...
They also just kind of leave Amanda out, and she's not restrained or anything. Like, why? Like, wouldn't you restrain a hoe? When Parker and Cecilia go to get their money out of the office where Jigsaw and Amanda were, they pull the bag and it triggers a bunch of gas to fill the room, and they have to fight over the one air hole that can save them. And Cecilia kills Parker and survives the trap. John gives Carlos the bag of money that Cecilia was trying to take and sends him on his way, which I don't know what that's supposed to do with the lifetime of therapy and fucking nightmares this kid is about to have, but whatever. And then the movie ends with John and a man we've never seen before, but we'll come to meet very soon, holding Henry hostage. Henry is the one that recommended the program to John, and presumably they kill him, but we don't see it.
Out of all the men to cheat, you picked John Kramer? I mean, I call that epic bad luck.
Here we meet Detective Matthews.
Anyway, I started blasting. Bang! Bang!
Who is picking up his son Daniel from a police station because he was shoplifting. We learn a lot of things about Matthews, that he's an angry cop, and that he has a troubled relationship with his son, and that he's going through a divorce because he slept with Detective Carey.
whore.
Matthews and Carrie have taken over the Jigsaw investigation because Singh and Tap are dead, and so it's their turn to take a crack at it. Matthews, Carrie, and Rigg, who I forgot to put on the board, which pisses me off because I need him for the next one, find a hideout that John is in, and they bust in there. Eric Matthews is pretty excited to be all up in John's face, and he's like, I got you now, bitch.
Is this close enough?
But John is like, LOL, you may have me, but I have your son. So, what about that? Turns out that John has Daniel and a bunch of other people, including Addison and Amanda, in a nerve gas house, and in 2 hours they'll die. And the only way that Matthews can see his son again is if he sits down and talks to Jigsaw. Carrie and Rigg are really worried about what Matthews is going to do because he's hot-headed. We see the group that's in the trap, and they all start immediately making stupid decisions. Why, I do not know, but they do. Someone dies because they opened a door Jigsaw told them not to open. We find out that Abby, who I mentioned in the Saw game, was an accomplice that helped kidnap everyone and put them in the house. The people in the house are trying to figure out how they're connected because in group traps, the people that are in them are usually connected to each other in some way or another, and then all of those people are usually connected to John. We see a flashback of John visiting Dr. Gordon when he first got his cancer diagnosis, and then we see John try to delete himself by driving off of an embankment, and he says that these two things kind of motivated him to see life the way he does now.
Those who don't appreciate life do not deserve life.
One of the people in the nerve gas house pushed Amanda into a pit of needles to retrieve an antidote, and every time I watch that scene, I want to die. That is the worst thing I've ever seen, and whoever wrote that, I hope that your pillow is always hot and your shower is always cold. I can't believe you subjected me to that. That's evil. John tells Matthews that everyone in the house are people that he planted evidence against and got falsely convicted, except for Daniel, obviously. And about the time that he's telling them that, all the people in the house figure out that that's their connection, and that Daniel is Matthew's son, and shit starts getting bad for Daniel really quickly. Amanda starts taking Daniel and trying to get to safety. And she's kind of leading him through the house to avoid the big, angry, juiced-up guy who's trying to kill Daniels. Addie gets stuck in a trap and bleeds out and dies, which is very sad. R.I.P. Addie. We'll find out a little bit more about her later, but rip. Matthews gets fed up with John's bullshit and beats the crap out of him and forces him to drive him to the nerve gas house. And while it's probably really cathartic to beat the shit out of John Kramer, he's laughing and smiling through most of it, so obviously this is probably not a smart thing to do.
You motherfucker, where is he?
Eric.
When Eric gets to the house, Carrie realizes that she can't see him on the monitors that are playing the feed of the people in the house, and that's probably not good. As he's going through the house, he stumbles across the really, really rotted bodies of Addison and Abby and the guy that opened the door and got shot because he's dumb, and he's finding all these bodies, and they're really, really rotted. More rotted than they should be if they've died within the last 2 hours. Amanda leads Daniel through like a really big hallway, and she opens a door, and they're in the shit room from Adam and Gordon's game, and they're kind of hiding in there. We know it's the same bathroom because there are two bodies, Adam and Zepp, and then there's Gordon's foot on the floor, which is really gross and rotted. Big, angry, juiced-up steroid guy tries to kill Daniel and Amanda, but is killed by Daniel when he takes one of the saws and cuts his throat. A bunch of cops show up at the nerve gas house and realize that the tapes that they've been seeing are tapes that were recorded previous. So this is not a live feed like they thought it was. And it turns out that everything the cops have been seeing was pre-recorded like a day ago. And so they have no actual way to know what's actually going on in the house. So they're in there blind, and that's probably not good if it's a Jigsaw house. Matthews makes his way to the shit bathroom, and nobody's in there except the 2 dead bodies. And then he's attacked by Pighead. The timer where Carrie is back at the base runs out, and since this is all pre-recorded, it's not for the people to die, it's for a safe to open, and it swings open, and Daniel is in the safe with an oxygen mask, which alludes to something that John told Matthews earlier, which was...
Tell me where he is.
He's in a safe place.
When Matthews wakes up, he is alone in the dark, and there's a tape, and he turns on the tape, and it's not John's voice, it's Amanda's voice, and she basically talks about how great John is, and how much she loves him, and how much she worships him, and how when he dies, she'll be the one to take over. And then she shows up at the door, and she shuts it on him like John did to Adam. Matthews, like Adam, is left screaming in the dark. Saw 3 and 4 take place at the same time, so I'm going to explain them together in the best chronological order that I can find. I did my best, but who fucking knows what's the right order, you know? I'm just kind of winging it at this point. Is this slightly confusing? Well, yes. But there's not much we can really do about it, so just try to keep up. Matthews smashes his foot instead of sawing it off, and escapes the shit room. 6 months later, Carrie and Rigg are still looking for Matthews, and while they're investigating the latest Jigsaw trap, they meet Detective Hoffman, or we meet Detective Hoffman, who we will recognize from the end of Saw X, so keep your eye on this mother fluffer. He is not to be trusted. Carrie points out that there has to be another accomplice, or that this trap couldn't have been Jigsaw because the guy couldn't get out of the room. This is one of the inescapable traps. This is the introduction to the inescapable trap. Even if the man had survived, the door was welded shut. So it's obviously not John, because John may be a psycho, but there's always a chance you can get out of his game. Carrie notices this because she is a badass and she's the best. Carrie is later kidnapped that night by Pighead and placed into a trap of her own, where she has to reach into a vat of acid to get a key and unlock a thing that's going to rip her ribcage open. And while she technically succeeds, she still dies anyway because this is an Amanda Young inescapable trap. And so Amanda killed Detective Carrie.
R.I.P. They dead and gone. Chat, they dead and gone.
Dr. Lynn is kidnapped by Amanda, and she has to play a game where she has to keep John alive until someone else finishes their test. A man named Jeff wakes up, and it's time for him to play his game, where he'll have to do a series trap, so he goes through a bunch of traps to save other people to get to an end goal. And he's going to be facing the grief for his son that was hit by a car and died. Spoiler alert, Jeff's not going to save a singular fucking person, like, at all. Like, ever. In a separate trap somewhere else, a man named Art Blank is in a trap, and he narrowly survives. And I'm mentioning him because we'll see him again. Rigg and Hoffman find Carrie's body, and Rigg is very upset about that. And we learn that she was a liaison for FBI agents Strom and Perez, and that she gave Perez a key before she died. And they kind of knew something was up because she was acting weird. Now, either I'm dumb or the movie doesn't say, but we never really know why Carrie has that key, where she got it from. It's never really, it's just either I'm dumb or the movie didn't explain it, but it's 50-50. I don't know where the fuck she got this key. She just gave it to the FBI and we never figured out why. I don't know. Maybe she found it in the base from last movie, but I don't know. Perez immediately becomes my new bad bitch because she points out that John and Amanda wouldn't have had the strength to lift Carrie into this trap, so there has to be another accomplice. She's a baddie. Jeff fails his first test, which is to save a woman who witnessed the car crash and wouldn't testify, and the lady freezes to death, and Jeff is just like, damn. Not saving people and being slow and incompetent is really going to be a theme for Jeff, so don't root for him at all. Amanda is being super aggro towards Lynn as she tries to save John and convince Amanda to take him to a hospital. She's giving her the crazy eyes. Homegirl is coming unglued, like rapidly. Rig is torn up about all his friends dying, and Detective Hoffman tells him to go home and let it go. And Rig is like, LOL, no, I'm not going to do that. So obviously Rig is about to be fucked. He's attacked by Pighead later that night, and he wakes up in his own bathtub, and there's a video feed of Matthews and Hoffman being held captive somewhere, and his job during this series trap is going to be to save them. Matthews is hanging, like he's got like a rope around his neck that's going up, and he's on a block of ice, so if the block of ice melts, he will die of strangulation, and if the ice melts and the seesaw tips over, Matthews' water will run down and electrocute Hoffman. Obviously, we know Hoffman's the accomplice, or not accomplice, apprentice. Hoffman's the apprentice, so he's going to be okay. But obviously, Rig does not know that. Rig leaves the room and goes into his living room, and there's a woman in a trap, and her hair's going to be pulled out, and it's gross. And the tape says that he has to leave and let her do her test by herself, but he refuses and ends up killing her anyway when she attacks him because her tape said to attack the man that would save her. We get a flashback that catches up with Matthews kind of limping his way through the tunnels, and him and Amanda get into a little bit of fisticuffs, and he beats the fucking brakes off of her because fuck her. And then she leaves, and he's like, "You're not Jigsaw, bitch. You're not Jigsaw, bitch." It's so funny. Someone comes to get Matthews. It's John. And he patches him up and puts him in like a cell and is like feeding him slop for 6 months. So that's what Matthews has been doing. Jeff wins the next game by saving the judge who let the guy who hit his son off with like a lesser sentence. But don't worry, the judge is still going to die because he's with Jeff. So don't be too excited. Lynn does some minor brain surgery for John, and it triggers a dream or fantasy or something, I don't know, of this woman who we don't know. It's not looking good for Lynn. At this point, we should all know that Lynn is doomed. We also get the flashback of Amanda killing Adam. So with that, seeing him killed with a plastic bag, we can officially mark him off. And I do have something to say about this death, because based on John's habit of getting people out of traps and mending them together, I don't think that he told Amanda to go kill Adam. I think he probably told Amanda to go release Adam, and Amanda was like, LOL, no, and killed Adam for whatever reason. Adam ain't do shit. Amanda's just a crazy asshole. Like, this is bullshit. Adam shouldn't have died. He should still be here, okay? He should just be a little dude running around doing little dude activities, and he's not, because Amanda took him from us. Strom and Perez are trying to figure out who the other apprentice is, and they think it's Rig because of the thing in his apartment, but they're not really quite sure about what's going on with him yet. Rig is forced to go to a hotel and put a rapist in a trap to get more information about Matthew and Hoffman. While Rig is doing that, he has a flashback about a time that he was trying to arrest an abusive father, but the mother wouldn't corroborate that he was abusive, and the kid was really scared, and he ended up assaulting the father, and Hoffman lied to him, and the abusive father's lawyer was Art Blank. Jeff makes it to his final test, which is to take a bullet to save the man that killed his son. This is Mr. Timmy over here. The judge is yelling at him that he has to do it or he'll be responsible for murder. But actually, you can't force somebody to take a bullet. Like, you can't do that. That's not legal. So actually, Jeff would be fine. Nobody can force you by law to save somebody in a trap if Jigsaw ever puts you in one of these traps where you'll be fine and you just have to like save or not save. You can obviously try to save somebody, but if you don't, you can't be held responsible because you didn't put them in the trap. You don't have to risk your life and limb to save somebody else. You'd be an asshole, but nobody's going to arrest you for it. So fuck the judge for lying. Jeff is stupid and slow, and so Timmy dies. But Jeff forgives him, so I guess that's okay. Strom questions a woman named Jill, who we find out is John's ex-wife, and that's why he was dreaming about her. Can't imagine why you would want to leave a man like John. During this interrogation, this triggers a bunch of flashbacks to John and Jill's marriage, and since I'm so nice, I'm just going to give them to you in order now instead of spreading them out. You're welcome. Their first one is about John, who is excited that Jill is pregnant, and he is building the baby a little Billy puppet and a little crib, and he's really excited to be a dad. How cute and wholesome. The next flashback is about a time where John had to confront a man named Cecil in Jill's drug clinic because she's a doctor. And he was tweaking the fuck out, and John was able to talk him down and like get him out of there before he hurt anybody. Next is the night that Jill and John's baby died. Cecil broke back into the clinic and killed the baby by slamming a door into Jill's stomach, triggering a miscarriage. And John was just outside the clinic waiting for her, and Addison tried to proposition him because she was a prostitute, and he heard the commotion and went inside. The last flashback we see is of Jill talking to John and Art. Art and John were business partners. He's a lawyer, he's an architect. They probably did real estate shit together. And Jill is trying to convince him to, not to give up his entire life. Because he's kind of like, fuck the business, fuck the money, fuck all of this. Everything I love is gone. And she says that this was the end of their marriage because John just kind of gave up on life after this. I will have you note, this is the third motivation that we have for John. Dead baby, car crash, cancer. I don't really know how many motivations that he needed to be a serial killer, but I guess we can just stir the pot some more and scoop up a new thing for John to be angry about. In yet another flashback, we learn that Cecil was John's first trap victim, and while he technically escaped his trap because it broke, he tried to attack John, and John, sidestepped him, and he fell into the prototype of the barbed wire trap that we saw in Saw 1. Strom and Perez show up at the hotel crime scene where Rigg put the dude in the trap, and they realize that Jigsaw is not trying to frame Rigg, he's trying to recruit him by making him participate in the traps, and that Art Blank is the name that the hotel room crime scene is registered under, so this motherfucker is just everywhere. And Art should be their lead suspect because when Matthews tries to step off the ice block and kill himself, because he's like, fuck all of this at the end of the day, Art Blank is the one that puts him back on the ice block and stops him and technically saves Hoffman. The cops find out that Art Blank is also the one that defended all of the previous Saw victims that we've seen in this movie. So, rapist guy, abusive father guy, and somebody else who I can't remember, but it's really not that important. John pours wax on a tape, because that will be brought up later, and talks to Lynn about her marriage, which apparently is not going well. Rigg goes to the school where the abusive father was that he assaulted, and he finds the abusive father and the wife in a trap. The wife is very excited. She tells him, and her husband is dead, and on his way out, he pulls the fire alarm so that the cops will show up. When the cops do show up, Perez is hurt by a Billy puppet that explodes in her face and cuts her face and her throat all up. And she's wheeled out by the EMTs, and she gives Strom the key that Carrie gave to her. Strom figures out where Jigsaw is trying to lead Rigg, and so he leaves to go there to see if he can intercept him. Amanda finds a note in the next room that makes her cry, and when she comes back, she's looking all upset, and she has a gun in her hand, and she's pointing it at Lynn, and John's like, if you fail, we all fail, and don't kill people, killing is distasteful. And then a lot of shit happens really, really fast, so I need you to listen, okay? Amanda says that Lynn doesn't deserve to live. On what basis? Who fucking knows? John asks if Amanda felt the same way when she left Matthews to die, because that wasn't part of the plan. Amanda renounces her loyalty to John and calls him a murderer, but, pot meet kettle. She shoots Lynn in the stomach right about the time that Jeff walks in the door and catches her. John says that Amanda has failed her test, because all of this was a test for Amanda to see if she would kill Lynn, and that she has just killed Jeff's wife. So Dr. Lynn and Jeff are married. Big fucking oofs. Jeff kills Amanda for killing his wife. Peace out, Dr. Lynn. You were here because you took antidepressants. How sad. Getting revenge for Detective Carey and my boy Adam. Fuck Amanda. Jeff goes to kill John, and John tells him to worry about his dying wife. And Jeff is like, oh, well, fuck you. And he kills John in his hospital bed with a saw. How exciting. The tape in John's hand starts playing, and it says that Jeff has to play another game to save his daughter Corbett, who's in a box with limited oxygen. Jeff is having a complete mental breakdown around the time that Strom comes into the warehouse, uses the key that Perez gave to him, and enters the room where Jeff is. Jeff turns around, raises the gun, and Strom shoots Jeff. On the other side of the warehouse, Rigg runs into the room where Matthews, Hoffman, and Art are, despite being warned several times not to. He triggers the tripwire at the door, killing Detective Matthews by releasing 2 giant ice blocks that come and crush his head. Rigg and Art get into a fight, and Rigg is shot and Art is shot. So goodbye, Art. Hoffman gets up because he was never really tied down, and he's looking at Rigg, who again is not on the board, and he's like, well, you're going to die anyway, and he leaves. Hoffman is sneaking around being a little rat, and he locks Strom in the room where he killed Jeff. Then he goes to get Jeff's daughter Corbett out of the box with low oxygen and carries her out. Hoffman is then called to John's autopsy. This is a little later. This is a jump forward. We'll have to jump back at the beginning of the next movie, but we jump forward a couple days. Hoffman is called to John's autopsy because the tape that he poured wax on, he swallowed and it plays, and it says that Hoffman will be tested and he doesn't get a pass because John is dead. John, you are dead. You can rest now. You don't have to do this. Okay, so we ended Saw 4 with the autopsy of John with the message for Hoffman. Come backwards a little bit with me, back to the warehouse. Strom breaks out of the room where he killed Jeff. He is then attacked by Pighead, who has to be Hoffman because Amanda is dead. So he's attacked by Pighead Hoffman. He's placed in a trap that will drown him.
Oh God, they try to drown me in this hole. I cannot see.
And manages to survive by sticking stabbing open his throat and putting a little tube in it. Tracheotomy. Giving himself a tracheotomy. Hoffman gets Corbett, leaves the warehouse when the cops are showing up, and is like, I'm the only survivor. And the EMTs rush by and they're like, no, Strom's alive. We gotta get him to the hospital. Let's go. Ah. And Hoffman does not look excited about this turn of events because he was supposed to be the only survivor and the big hero. We get a flashback of a man named Seth Baxter being killed in an inescapable trap that Hoffman set up to kill him. And we see Hoffman watching through a little peephole. Now, we learn that Seth Baxter is the man that killed Hoffman's sister. So that's why he was put in the trap. But this is before Hoffman was an apprentice. Jill meets with her lawyer and gets her inheritance from John, which is a big black box with a key that she's wearing around her neck. Bitches just love keys in these movies, I guess. And we don't see what it is. So fuck you for wanting to know what it is. Hoffman finds a note in his office. And he thinks that Strom left it there, so he immediately starts framing him as a jigsaw apprentice. Steals his phone from evidence and calls Erickson with it. Sets up a bunch of stuff at the bases and talks shit about him to other cops. That's a big leap though. How would he know who you are if he didn't know before? Hoffman visits Strom in the hospital, and Strom is really upset because he says Perez is dead. Big oof. Like, why you keep killing the baddies? Agent Erickson visits Strom next and kicks him off the case. He's like, listen, bruh, you almost died. You had to give yourself a throat holectomy. Like, that's not good. You need to go rest. Bye. And he lets Hoffman have full disclosure in the case, so now he's working directly with Hoffman. 5 people are placed into a group trap, and it's not really important, but I'll tell you about it anyway. The only 2 survivors are a man named Malik and a woman named Britt, and they're there because they conspired, along with the other people in the trap, to burn down a building so that Britt could use it for real estate because she's a real estate person. And 8 people ended up dying in that fire. So fuck these people. They're not good people. I don't root for them. You're all hoe bags. Hoffman has a flashback to the first time he met John. John was not happy that Hoffman copycatted him, and so he put Hoffman in a trap. Hoffman survived the trap. John was like, see, my philosophy is right. And Hoffman's like, yeah, well, okay. And so now they're working together. That's how we got Hoffman. There are more Hoffman flashbacks in the movie, but I'm not going to bore you with all of them. I'll give you the gist. Hoffman and Amanda have like sibling rivalry where they both want to be the favorite. John's kind of in the middle. They fucking try to sabotage each other all the time. Strom, who is suspicious of Hoffman because nobody was supposed to make it out of the warehouse, follows him home one night, and we learn that Hoffman is living in the nerve gas house, and the fact that this does not raise any red flags in the police department, that a fucking detective lives in a crime scene, is a problem. It's a problem. It's a red flag. No wonder Jigsaw keeps getting away with it. You fucking detectives are dumb. Erickson finds all the evidence that Hoffman framed Strom with and sends out an APB on Strom because now he's the suspect. Strom, where'd it go? Strom is walking through the house and he finds this room with a glass coffin in it, and the tape says to get inside, but he doesn't, and he waits for Hoffman to come in. And he pushes Hoffman into it, and then the walls close in like that scene from Star Wars, and Strom dies. Why is everybody gonna be so dumb? What the fuck? Hoffman gets out of the glass coffin and disposes of Strom's body. He is then called to another crime scene where we learn that Perez is actually alive.
Oh my god! Wow!
Can't keep a bad bitch down. Oh my god. We learn that Perez's death was fake to protect her from the Jigsaw apprentice, but bitch, you don't have all the apprentices yet. Why did you bring her back? She's also acting really sus towards Hoffman because she doesn't believe that Strom was the apprentice, and she's right, obviously. They both bring up Seth Baxter to Hoffman, and I'm like, at what point do you guys know? And if you know, why are you taunting him about it? Like, arrest this hoe now. A man named William Easton works for a healthcare company, and he's put into a trap because we learned that he is the person that denied John the insurance to go get the scam treatment in Mexico, and he also killed a man named Harold Abbott, rest in peace, Harold, because he denied him health insurance that would have paid for the medication to save his life. Easton is in the trap, and so are Harold's wife and son. They're in a cage watching the trap. They're not really in a trap. They're just kind of watching the trap action. They're right here. We finally see what's in Jill's box, and it's...
Drum roll, please.
a bunch of numbered envelopes.
Wow, thanks.
She gives Hoffman some of the envelopes because he asked for them, but she doesn't give him all of them. And she actually puts one of the envelopes into an office door slot, but we don't know whose office it is yet. So Easton is in a series trap, much like Jeff, the slow idiot. And throughout all of these traps, Jigsaw just yells about how bad the healthcare system is, and like, bitch, I feel you. It's bad out here for a pimp, but like, this is a little excessive. He kills the janitor. Like, what the fuck does the janitor have to do with this? Jill leaves a note for Hoffman at his little monitor desk at the where the game is being played. how the fuck does she know where the game is being played? That's crazy. Erickson and Perez call Hoffman in because they're unscrambling the new Jigsaw tapes, because obviously it can't be Jigsaw because he's dead. And Hoffman walks in right about the time that his voice comes through the speaker, and he goes fucking full Terminator mode and kills pretty much the entire precinct, including bad bitch Perez for realsies this time, and Erickson. What the fuck are you gonna do now, Hoffman? You're killing the police station. After setting the police station on fire, Hoffman goes back to where the game is being played and finds the note that Jill left him. And basically, the note is just a copy of the one he left Amanda in Saw 3. And it says that Amanda was with Cecil the night that they killed Jill's baby. And that if Amanda doesn't kill Lynn, he's going to tell John. John probably already fucking knows. Cecil would have given that up, Amanda would have given that up, and he ran right past her on his way to his wife. There's no way that John didn't know. He just wanted to sabotage Amanda because he doesn't like her, but like, that's stupid. But whatever. And it also explains why Amanda has a complete mental break and kills Lynn. Jill, however, did not know this information, and she's fucking pissed, and so she puts Hoffman in a bear trap.
Oh, great heavens!
Mr. Easton makes it to his sister, who's being kept beside Tamara and Brent. Tamara, whatever the fuck her name is. And this is where they come into the game. They are given a choice of whether Easton lives or dies. And the son is angry, and the mom is like, we can't kill him, we're not murderers. But the son pulls the lever and kills Mr. Easton. Ooh. Okay, so you remember how at the end of the first movie, Gordon army crawled out of the room with his stump leg? We're back there. Please cast your minds back there. Good old Gordo is crawling through the hallways, and he's leaving like a trail of blood. Fun fact, you can actually see this trail of blood in Saw 2. Someone grabs him and pulls him away right after he cauterizes his stump. Jill, who witnessed Hoffman's escape, is at the police station talking to Detective Gibson, who is right here. He's an IAB cop who used to be Hoffman's partner, but then Hoffman committed a bunch of evil crimes, and he was like, fuck that, I'm going to dedicate my life to taking him down. Gibson does not like Jill, and Jill does not like Gibson.
She looks crazier than a sack full of cats. You're crazy. You know that? I knew you were crazy the minute I laid eyes on you. Crazy.
I will say, if you're watching the Saw franchise, you will notice that this movie has a distinctly angry attitude towards women. Don't know why. None of the other ones have it. But like, this one's angry at women. Fuck women is the... It should have been Saw, Fuck Women in 3D. That should have been the title of this installment, but it's not. But just a warning, if you're going to watch these. Like, angry. Jill is going to be treated like shit. They kind of screwed up her entire character. I don't really know what's going on with that. We then meet Bobby Dagan. He's down here. And his wife, who I can't remember the name of. And Bobby wrote a book about being a Saw victim. But if you've been paying attention, Bobby's not a fucking Saw victim. So he's a liar, liar, pants on fire. And everyone knows it except his poor, sweet wife. His poor, sweet wife, who it would be a shame if anything happened to ever.
In the business, we call this foreshadowing.
I hope that she has a happy ending full of happiness and love and joy. A bunch of Nazis are killed in a trap. And while the movie wants you to celebrate this point, I value all human life, no matter how despicable. It's not my place to judge. And from a religious standpoint, I can't condone the murder of anyone except in self-defense. But that murder is important because it will come into play later with Hoffmanator. So just remember that these Nazis died. Hoffman is running around like a slasher villain, blowing up cars, sending Joker-esque type videos to Gibson, and sewing up his new fucked up face. Like, he's halfway to a fucking Texas Chainsaw movie is how bad he's acting right now. Like, it's bad. Bobby is hosting a Saw Survivors meetup, and good old pal Dr. Gordo shows up to humiliate him, so he did survive. That's exciting. Hello. And right after this meeting, Bobby is kidnapped along with his wife and the rest of his team. Bobby wakes up, and his tape says that if he can't succeed his test, his wife will die. And fuck Hoffman for that shit, because she ain't even do shit for real. Like, she innocent. What's the point of being John's apprentice if you don't even follow John's rules? You believe in it or not, big dog? Gibson is tracking Hoffman and finds his old home base, and he is killed by a turret gun. I don't have much to say about Gibson. He's really not that interesting. Peace out, I guess. We learned that Hoffman slipped into one of the body bags from the Nazi crime scene and is now in the morgue, and he kills a bunch of people. Bobby goes through all his traps and fails every single one of them, and his wife is killed in a brazen bull. Like I said, really angry attitude towards women. She ain't even do nothing for real. Hoffman, after having several weird and slightly sexual fantasies about murdering Jill, kills her with the same bear trap that she tried to kill him with. Those fantasies he had were weird. After Hoffman leaves, he is attacked by 3 pig-headed people, and it turns out Gordon is one of those people because he's been an apprentice the entire time. That he's the person Jill dropped off the tape to. He's taking over for Jigsaw. Blah-de-blah-de-blah. And while this could have been a cool twist, the writers fucked it up, and it just doesn't really land, and I don't care. Like, that's how I feel about it. I don't know. This movie was just bad. It's the worst of the original set, and it just... This twist would have been so kick-ass in Saw 3 or 4, but it kind of falls flat here. So we see a bunch of flashbacks of times that Gordon helped John, pretty much all the sewing of things into people. Gordon did that. And I don't think that Amanda really knew about him. Hoffman seems to recognize him, but, like, I don't know. And he's also the person that recommended Lynn, which is a fuck-ass move. Because Lynn ain't even do shit for real. Gordon puts Hoffman in the shit bathroom. Says he's going to leave him there. Says goodbye to his old foot. Doesn't even acknowledge the dead body of Adam. Like Adam even did shit at all. And leaves him there. And that's the end of Detective Hoffman. I'm not underwhelmed. But I'm not overwhelmed. I'm just kind of whelmed. You know? I'm just whelmed.
You're overwhelmed. Freeze was underwhelmed. Why isn't anyone ever just whelmed?
Felt like we were running out of ideas. Alright. So you remember how I said at the beginning that 5 people were placed into a group trap? This is where that comes into play. Thank you for hanging on to that tidbit for me. I'm going to tell you that story, but I'm not really going to focus on the trap because it's not important. Instead, we're going to focus on the investigation side of the story, the cop plot, because that's where we get the meat and potatoes, and that's where the story is, and I'm not trying to keep you here for 17 years. What you need to know about the trap is that there was one survivor, which I mentioned earlier, and that all of the people sucked ass except for the one survivor. They were all bad people. So don't feel super bad. I hope that you don't miss any of the original characters because you're not going to see any of them. We are following new people now, and as Detective Halloran and Detective Hunt are chasing down a criminal named Edgar, he says the game has begun, and then he's shot by the police.
Which one of you assholes shot him in the chest?
The game, it started.
A body pops up and it looks like a Jigsaw killing. And so we meet Dr. Logan and Ellie, who work in the morgue.
Oh, the pH of this soil is too high. I believe I may die.
Fuck yeah, concrete.
And they find evidence that this is either Jigsaw, which is impossible because he's been dead for like over 10 years, or it is a really good copycat. Place your bets on if we have a zombie John Kramer, if it's a copycat. When more bodies pop up in a more Jigsaw-like manner, Hunt and Halloran are suspicious of Ellie, but Logan is questioned and he points the finger at Halloran and says that Halloran's a dirty cop and he probably killed Edgar. And then they test the bullet and it was Halloran's bullet. So now Hunt and the others are focusing on Halloran. Later they find skin pieces in his freezer, which pretty much convinces Hunt and the others that Halloran is the one they're looking for. Ellie says she found out where the game is being played because bodies keep popping up, so there has to be a game, and that Jill Tuck's family owned a farm, and that's where she thinks it is, so she takes Logan there, and Halloran follows them. Halloran is like, I knew that crazy bitch was killing people, and goes to attack them, but Logan protects her, and Ellie gets away. Halloran and Logan fight, and they end up in traps of their own. The tape says that they have to confess their sins to get out of the trap. Logan's doesn't work, and Logan's dies. And then Halloran starts confessing to all sorts of shit, but he still can't get out of the trap. That is when Logan pulls a Jigsaw move and gets up off the floor and says that I'm the new Jigsaw, and I've been carrying on his work, and I've been his apprentice longer than anyone else, before Hoffman, before Amanda, before Gordon. And yeah, like, I'm here to speak for the dead. And so Halloran is killed in his trap after Logan gets the recording of all his confessions. If you're confused, that's okay. I will explain it a little bit better than I just did. 10 years ago, when this game was being played, well, it must have been more than 10 years ago. He says 10 years, but it has to be longer than that. Before the events of Saw 1, a game was played. Logan was one of the players, but when he failed due to not waking up because of the drugs he was given, John decided to spare him and take him in as an apprentice. We learned that Dr. Logan is a widower, rest in peace to your wife, and that he served in Fallujah with Detective Hunt, and so they're chill. He's a good guy. Ellie is super into true crime and basically has a warehouse museum of Jigsaw artifacts where she got the actual reverse bear trap or the thing that killed Agent Carey. I don't know, but that's a little weird. You shouldn't have that. It's probably a red flag when your true crime obsession goes that far. Now, the reason that Logan was in the game is because he's the one that messed up John's test results, leading to him not being diagnosed by Gordon until it was too late. This means that he was an apprentice before Gordon, Hoffman, Amanda, and anyone else. He was there when John made Amanda's bear trap and set that up. And the reason that we never saw him or heard about him is because he was in Fallujah serving in the military. And while the game itself that Logan was in was played over 10 years ago, the bodies that they're finding are recreations that Logan is making. And they are criminals that Halloran let walk because he takes bribes and he's a dirty cop. And Eleanor, who escaped during Halloran and Logan's fight, will be the witness that says that Halloran attacked them and that Logan was fighting for his life, and that will pin him as the apprentice. And so Logan can go about his work. Does all that make sense? I don't know. I don't think it does. But that's the end of the main storyline. So now that we've reached the end, I want to give you a few of my closing thoughts before I let you go. Justice for Adam. Justice for Carrie. Justice for Bobby's wife. Okay? That's number 1, number 2, and number 3. I like the Gordon was an apprentice thing, I wish it had been executed better. I don't know why we waited until what was supposed to be the final chapter. I don't know why they wrote it so shittily, but I like it. I just don't like the execution. Next, I like John. I like when we focus on him. I like digging into what his philosophy is, why it's there. I like that he's a weird guy with a puppet. I like that he's a weird guy and he likes pigs. I like that he can build things. I wish we had expanded more on that. Amanda, fuck that hoe. You killed not only my baby Adam, but my bad bitch Carrie, and I'll never forgive you for that. Hoffman turned into a fucking slasher villain, and that kind of ruined him for me. This is not a slasher movie. This is a dark, gritty thing, and I think that ruined it. I hate Logan. I hate Ellie. You're a red flag for having a museum of Jigsaw things, and Logan just doesn't... I don't know. The thing about the Jigsaw apprentices is that they are already kind of bad people. Gordon is like the least bad of the bad people, but like Amanda was a drug addict and she's flawed, and Detective Hoffman was killing people before Jigsaw met him, and Gordon was cheating on his wife. I don't know how that compares, but they all kind of make sense. They all kind of have this connection to John. We all kind of see that. Logan is just kind of like a Dexter clone with medical knowledge and the ability to use a tape recorder. Like, I really don't know what he was supposed to do for me. I like that Cecilia lived. I'm mad that Perez is dead. I wonder what happened to Corbett. Overall, I think that this is the least sleazy horror franchise I can think of. Nobody's tits are out. Nobody's having sex. Nobody's, except for Saw 3D, which hates women. All the other Saws are for the girls. I love that it's a soap opera. I love what Leigh Whannell gave us. I love what James Wan gave us. It's the only James Wan thing that I like. So that should be... I like that it's twisted and convoluted and takes a whole video to explain. I love how goofy it is. I love that weirdos had to think of these traps. I love Billy so much. And I just love this series. It's just good, and it's for the bitches. It was written for the girls. And there you have it, folks. The most basic and condensed outline of events for my favorite messy little horror franchise. I hope that you enjoyed my ramblings and that maybe you'll check it out for yourself, or at least check out the videos that I put in the playlist. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Game over.